Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Fry, and I was one of Tim's best friends in the Boston University and Navy ROTC years. And I could share several stories. I'll share just a couple today. But I was actually one of the first people Tim met when he arrived at Boston University. We both arrived in the summer of 1984. And we were there early because we had an initial boot camp training. And so my last name's Fry, his last name's Friendshuh, and of course with the military in alphabetical order, we were placed together in order for everything we did. I remember at the Navy ROTC unit, one of the female officers kept yelling at Tim, and he kept calling her sir, and she kept trying to correct him, and he kept calling her sir, but I think he was a little flustered at the time. But I've got to tell you, when we got on the bus, when Tim arrived, so remember, we're going to boot camp, he was wearing jeans with some holes in them, a red bandana tied around his leg, some goofy hat, and I was thinking, this is probably not a really good idea for where we're going. So I talked to him. We didn't have much chance to talk at this point. There was a lot of screaming and hollering, but it was fairly quiet on the bus, and I said, hey, you might want to get rid of that bandana and that hat, and you don't want to get any undue attention when we arrive. Well, Tim made it quite clear that he didn't care whether they did not like it or not. And let's just say that when we stepped off the bus, he got their immediate attention, and they were making some statements that would be very politically incorrect today. But we got off to a rough start. But the story gets better because at the time, and I'm not even sure how he was able to do this, but Tim was wearing a cast because he had broken his leg, his foot, or something like that. And when we arrived, it was open bay barracks for boot camp, and it's alphabetical order. We had these old metal bunk beds. So Tim is on the bottom, I'm on the top, and what they do is they call you rack mates. And every time Tim did something wrong, I had to do push-ups with him. And let me tell you, I was getting mighty strong every day because right off, as I said, coming off that bus, they were out to get him. And every single night we were there, we got watch in the middle of the night. Well, one night around 2 a.m., it's pretty quiet in there as we're standing watch. And Tim, remember, he had a cast. At the end of the cast, his toes, there was a little sock covering the toes, but this is the first time I saw that little sock was gone, and his toenails were painted pink. I said, good Lord, what is this? And he said, well, my girlfriend painted my toenails before I left. And I said, well, we're going to get some Brasso or something. We have got to get that paint off. And he said, no, I don't care what they think. My girlfriend put it on there. I'm going to keep it. And I knew right there it was going to be big trouble. Well, we would get up around 4:30 a.m. We'd be running by about 4:35, but we no sooner got out there in formation and they saw his foot and they went crazy. They were hell-bent to drive him out, to get him to DOR, drop on request, whatever it took. Well, and I remember they made him pack his bag and stand at a bus stop at the other side of the base. Well, of course, there was no bus to get him, but Tim would not quit. Fast forward a week later, and, they're meaner than rattlesnakes when you're there, and they gave us all index cards and pencils, and they were acting really friendly all of a sudden, and they said, hey, if there's anything that you don't like here, that you're not comfortable with, please share it with us and write it down. We'll try and make things better. And of course, we know this is a setup a mile away. And so later that day at Chow, I've got a chance to talk to Tim, and I'm like, hey, what did you write down in your card? And he says, well, I think Marine Corps drill instructors that don't like pink painted toenails are real blankety blanks. And knowing Tim, I thought, well, he's just running off his mouth. Well, let's just say I was in a deep sleep around midnight, and apparently these drill instructors read the notes that everybody had wrote, and I was in a dead sleep when the next thing I knew, my metal bunk beds were being knocked over, literally disconnecting on the floor, and I was so confused I didn't even know what my name was at this point. They're screaming, they're hollering, they got me up against the wall, they got Tim against the wall, and I finally realized, it got through my head that, yes, Tim really wrote that. He sure did. Well, we made it through our initial training, and for the next 4 years, Tim and I were tight as tight could be. We were always together in formation. I remember one early morning for inspection, he said, "Hey, how do I look? How do I look?" And I noticed in his white collar, he must have shaved and nicked himself, and there was blood all over the collar. So, of course, I said, "Tim, you look fantastic. You're going to do great in this inspection." Well, of course, when the drill instructor came through and saw him, he's like, "What, did you shave with a shovel or something?" Screaming and hollering. Tim wasn't too happy at me about that. We always sat together in our naval science classes as well as our aerospace engineering classes. And naval science classes were somewhat strict. And I remember he was bragging to me about how he put some smart aleck answer on a quiz. And this is so Tim if you knew him. And later in the week, I got there before Tim to class, and the quizzes were up front in the stack, and you just went up and pulled out your quiz with your name on it. So I saw Tim's in there, and I decided that I took a red pen and I wrote at the top of his test, "Not funny, I don't appreciate the smart aleck humor, see Lieutenant Haynes after class." And so I slipped it back in the stack, and I waited till later. And so sure enough, he got the test. I could see the look in his face, and he kind of got quiet, and he sat down and didn't say anything about it. Well, later in the day, in one of our engineering classes, I told him what I had done because the lieutenant was like, "What are you talking about?" 4 years, Tim and I were together all the way through. In fact, my senior year, our 1 year project, the grand finale for aerospace engineering to design an airplane, Tim and I were working together with one other guy in a group. So many late nights studying, putting that thing together. It was huge. And even on the day that we finished Boston University and got our degree and had our commissioning ceremony, Tim was standing right next to me with his right hand in the air, swearing in and being commissioned as a United States Naval Officer. And I'll never forget saying to him, "Tim, there is a lot of people betting you wouldn't make it across these 4 years. But look, here we both are now commissioned as naval officers." From there, I went off to Navy flight school, and Tim went off to the USS Ranger. We both served in Desert Storm. Unfortunately, I only got to see Tim one more time in the 90s to come out to visit him and Brent and his wife, Johanna, at that time. And he was always the same. I missed the long discussions, the great friendship, and the passion he had for life. Tim, I miss you and love you, brother. Farewell and following seas.